Hi, everyone. Welcome to Basic Binges, part of Nom Talk Network. On the show review, we review popular shows while eating and drinking our favorite binge-worthy snacks and drinks. If you're watching live, don't forget to redeem those channel points. I will give you full reign on those channel points this time because we've been back for a couple of weeks now. Um, I'm your host, Erric Ramirez, and right now I am having a lovely Voodoo Ranger because it was a long day, but also I have to stay hydrated, so water. And actually brought food tonight. I'm eating cheese and crackers because I'm simple. But I want to introduce you to our guests tonight, Kyle, Julie, and Toni. Thank you for being here. Kyle, go ahead and introduce yourself to everybody out there.
Howdy, howdy, howdy. It's Kyle as always. Today I also have my typical Coca-Cola, but I also have a water for hydration. And I have officially decided to beat Eric out when it comes to basic because part of my snack tonight is plain toast. But it's toast from Denny's, so I'm actually pretty into it because it's actually like buttered and it tastes really good. But plain toast and a pancake might make an appearance at some point, but if you see it, you didn't see it. But
Hey, at least it's something. And those are the most enjoyable snacks
oh,
sometimes. That's why I'm eating cheese and crackers.
exactly.
Um, Toni, go ahead and introduce yourself to everybody out there.
Hi, everybody. I'm Toni Sanchez, and tonight I actually have, I'm being awful. I got stuff from Wendy's. So, got some French fries. I kind of already went through the spicy chicken nuggets. So, apologies for that. And I will be drinking Wendy's water. So, shout out to Wendy's.
Well, thank you for being here. Julie, I'm excited for you, so I saved you for last. What are you snacking and drinking?
I do. I have more British food tonight. I have a shepherd's pie tonight. It's actually just one of the Blake's ones from Whole Foods, but they're pretty good. So I thought that seems fitting. And for some extra protein, I got some beans on toast. So I'm having toast too, but I decided to have it the British way. And then okay, so there is a dessert that I've been trying to find that I want. Okay, I'm hoping by the Christmas special I will have it. But right now, what I have is a banana tart, a banana cream tart, because David Tennant and bananas, and also tarts seem pretty British to me. And then I'm going to be drinking some water, but also some lightly brewed sparkling tea that I've never tried before. So sounds interesting.
That does sound delicious. And
Fun.
It's a lime hibiscus tea. So yeah,
oh, even better.
I
And
know, right?
I was not disappointed with what you brought. Thank you. I was looking forward to
I'm
that
glad.
all week. But today we are talking about episode 3 of the 60th anniversary of Doctor Who, The Giggle. So we're excited for that. And before we start, I want to say for the month of December, we are fundraising for the Trevor Project, a nonprofit organization focusing on suicide prevention and efforts among the LGBTQIA youth. So please be sure to check that out. If you want to donate, it's in the chat. Send a message in there. If you can't figure it out, we'll get back to you. So jumping into this episode, from the last episode, we ended off, they're coming back and they see Wilf, oh, lovely, lovely Wilf, and the world is kind of chaotic. Um, and then they're walking around and they see uh, this random character, Neil Patrick Harris, just kind of looking at David Tennant and talking and everything, or well, not talking, but like dancing around and dances with him. And David kind of recognizes him. Um, then Unit comes and swipes them up and says that the world's gone mad, that everything that everybody thinks is just and right, they're right upon. Everybody thinks that. So there's chaos in the world. Um, we get brought back Kate Lethbridge Stewart. Shirley comes back, and surprise, surprise, we see Melanie Bush, who actually has not been on Doctor Who since the 6th and 7th Doctor. So it's nice to get her back into the mix of things. Um, they figure out that this melody is playing in their head, an arpeggio, as Melanie says, and it is making everybody mad. So they go back to the start of television, the first image ever, and they find out that this toy maker sold somebody a doll named Stooky Bill, which we'll get to Stooky Bill because he's frightening. Stooky Bill, And in that, he would manage to create a wave in everybody's brains to make them go mad and everything like that and think they're right because he loves playing games. This person that we make is called the Toy Maker. Catherine or Donna and the doctor end up going through this maze of doors, and they meet him and they play a game. The doctor and him play a game. Now, the doctor and him have played a game way long ago in the 60s, and the doctor won. This time, like I mentioned last week, the doctor at the end of the world spread salt to play a game with those creatures that he was fighting. So he opened a door for the toy maker to come in. They get there, they play the game, toy maker wins. The doctor says, this is the best. I won one, you won one, so now we have to go to 3. They jump back to the future, and the toy maker comes in all his jolly and everything like that, then kills the doctor. The doctor comes back, they play another game, and the toy maker loses. Toy maker gets banished, everything like that. Joyful. End all be all. We'll get to the end of this here soon. What were your guys' feelings about this episode? There was a lot that happened, so like I'm giving the like Spark Notes versions. Toni, what were your thoughts about this episode? What did you enjoy? What did you hate? What do you think they should have done different?
I really love how it is a character piece. I really do feel like it wasn't just, we've been through the episodes where it's just like, I'm going to rule the world. I'm going to take it over. Well, why? Because it's the world and I can. And while there's definitely elements of that in the toy maker, it really does feel like when you boil down a motivation just to like, oh, he likes to win. That's his entire like motivation for anything. He likes to play the game. He likes to win. And if he loses, it's just more motivation for him to win. So like like immediately we get that, but then the ability to actually layer the additional frustrations and other nuances that go into this kind of character, I thought that was really great. And I really did feel like, well, it's not just about like the joy of playing a game. It really is about like, oh, I've been bested, and the only other person I get the feeling that there's not many people that have bested the toy maker. I'm not too deep in the lore about the toy maker, so I really did love that there is this like resentment and frustration and hostility towards the doctor. So I liked all those angles that was going into it. And immediately I just was like, I understand it. I get it. I get that we don't have to spend a whole lot of time on backstory. We just like know that it's a game. He likes to win. That's why he does not like the doctor. This is personal for him. And that's why he's going to the lengths that he's going to, especially since, it's not like he sought out the doctor with this particular game, which I also like. It just so happens that it brought the doctor back to him, and now he has the opportunity to kind of like basically get one back on him. I also really like, I like the sets. I like how there's a lot of things happening where they're taking advantage of Neil Patrick Harris's his abilities. And Neil Patrick Harris in real life is a very skilled magician. He's really into the magical arts, juggling, all that good stuff. So the ability that he has to like, play with cards and, juggle and, just sort of like integrate, some of those like, skills. I really, really enjoyed that. And that's, maybe, to somebody who doesn't really know much about Neil Patrick Harris, it would just kind of seem like, well, obviously that's not him, but it's like, it's really nice to know that it is. The other things I really like the sets. I like how some of them are just like really exaggerated, extreme, dramatic, creepy. Holy crap. Like I forget the name of the Stooky Bill's wife and kids. That scene with Donna. Such a creepy room. I hate that room with every fiber of my being. It was the creepiest thing. I was like, nope, that immediately is a nope room. You walk in, you walk right back. Yeah, but I really liked, I mean, I don't want to go too far into all the things that I like because I have a feeling that we'll get to that. The parts that we all really liked at the ending, but I like that there's a lot of things in play here, not just about, Doctor Who and like, the villain of the week, that there is some things about, who they are as people and thematically like what Doctor Who as a character is all about. So yeah, I really enjoyed this episode. I think it accomplished a lot in actually a relatively small amount of time.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And this episode is 1 minute longer than all the rest of them. So we got that extra minute of stuff. So
Extra.
super long episode. Kyle, what were your thoughts on this episode? What you like, what you didn't, what you want more of?
So first things first, the minute that it opened and you saw the whole historical thing, and I was like, and they were like Soho, and I was like, Good Omens, David Tennant, Good Omens, and so I love that completely unintentional. British is a tiny island, and everything naturally would be connected if you're writing about the UK. I also love the historical parts of it, which we might get to. I don't know, but like I looked it up before this because I was really curious, and I guess the ventriloquist head thing actually happened, and I was like, that's perturbing. But I've never been bothered by like animatronics or uncanny valley stuff, so I wasn't necessarily as unnerved by the toy makers' creations of people. I liked Neil that they let Neil Patrick Harris off his leash. They let him chew the scenery. I like that they have more American actors coming in who are like adding two things between. Yes, yes, exactly. I love how they have more American actors coming in and adding to Doctor Who. I think it's a really nice like unity of it. I loved Neil's character. I love the new Doctor. I think he might honestly be my favorite after 10 and 13. Um like I can't wait to see what he does. As a person with odd pronouns, I'm not sure if I should use he or they. So I would love for clarification from on that because well I want the Doctor to choose that cuz last 13 was a woman. So you know, let's do that. And then other than that, this was a really solid, really engaging, fun episode. And as someone who and there's a bunch of I don't know, we'll probably get to the other stuff, but I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it.
Oh yeah, no, definitely there with you. Julie, what were your thoughts on this episode? What you want more of? What you love? What you hate?
I don't think I needed more. I got plenty of my man Neil Patrick Harris. I gotta say, I'm like the biggest Neil Patrick Harris stan. So I was so excited because they announced like a long time ago that he was gonna be on Doctor Who. And I didn't know like in what capacity, but you'd see like some promo pictures and it just looked very fascinating. And I was like, ooh, what's this character gonna be? But you know, it seemed actually like to just make sense for him to be in the Doctor Who universe or whatever. Like because he just seemed to like fit in pretty effortlessly. So I was very excited. I feel like we saw a lot of him. I agree with Kyle. Like he just chewed the scenery. He like really got to do his. He got to be Neil Patrick Harris, which we all love. But Neil Patrick Harris in the Doctor Who universe, which like I said, I think fit pretty seamlessly. And it was also really cool to see like this character of the toy maker because I wasn't super familiar. Like I've only watched select episodes of Classic Who. Mostly I think Tom Baker and I think the one after him. And because not everything's readily available. In fact, I was reading that some of the Toymaker episodes from previous are not actually available. I think it was reading something about that, or at least one of them wasn't, or something.
There is only one episode with a toy maker in it.
Oh, it was only one? Okay.
There has been like stories of him, like audiobooks and stuff like that with the toy maker.
Oh, okay.
He's only been on screen once.
Okay.
Okay.
So okay, well then I don't know. But was that a thing? Did I read that episode isn't available anymore or something? I'm not sure.
It's a part of the first season. It's harder to find, but you can find it. You just have to really like deep dive.
Okay. I might have to check it out because now I'm fascinated with this character. I mean, I always love when they bring back characters from classic stuff because it's just fun. And it's fun to see the Doctor kind of like interacting with his old nemesis and stuff. And like, I love that they brought back Melanie as well. I had to look her up too, but she was an old companion. I love when they bring back the old companions because, apparently a lot of them, well, not a lot of them, but some of them are still around. So I think that was really fun. I love what they did with her character. She works for UNIT now and stuff. I'm like, that's cool. And she was great in this episode. So, I have no complaints. I mean, honestly, I've loved all three of these specials, and like, I don't even know if I could pick a favorite. I mean, maybe this one just because again, NPH. Like, but Yeah, no, I agree with what everyone was saying. The scenery was great. Russell T Davies doing his thing, like good writing. Loved seeing the new Doctor. I agree as well. It's great. So yeah.
Oh yeah,
Very
no,
much.
I really enjoyed this episode. There was so much, like Toni was saying, that they did in a little bit of time.
Yes.
It was amazing. I mean, Russell T Davis really came back with a freaking banger. Like he was like, I'm going to do these 3 episodes and take over show running again, and I'm going to show you that this is why I run Doctor Who. That's what
Yeah.
I.
No, 100%.
But yeah, no, the casting of it never seemed to stall because they were giving you those different like little glimpses of different scenes and everything like that. I loved it. Loved the bi-generation of the new Doctor and David Tennant. I just really loved it all. I love the ending of it where they're sitting at home and just like having dinner and everything. He's just telling stories. Loved all of it.
Yeah, that was so cute.
But now getting into a couple of different things. We are going to talk into about this casting because going into this, I knew Neil Patrick Harris was going to be the bad guy going into this 3rd episode. I wasn't so keen on having him, even though like I enjoy what he does. But I was like, it's a British show. Like, I don't know how he's gonna do. But I was thoroughly impressed, and I was talking to my roommate earlier because we were watching it again because I always watch everything. If you all remember Dr. Horrible's sing-along blog
Yes.
from the
Yeah.
last writer strike
Like
that
one
we
of my
had,
favorites.
I don't know why I doubted that he could do it, having been a really big fan of that. So, what were your guys' thoughts on NPH? Like, I thought he did a fantastic job, and they pulled out all of his skills that he has: magic, juggling, dancing, singing, being a showman. Like, they pulled everything out of him, which in interviews he didn't think he could do, which is surprising. We'll start with you on this one, Kyle.
So, first of all, the fact that he didn't think he could do it speaks to a nice humility from the man. But I think what people, we can talk about how he was chewing the scenery, which I loved. We can talk about how he's a born Broadway performer, which I loved. But he also delivered some really intense lines. And the line that really stuck out to me was why the toy maker is in love with Earth. And I think that he gave this impression as a character of like this being this very real like it almost gave, because me and my Marvelness, it almost gave Craven the Hunter vibes, that it's not about harming, it's not about causing harm, it's about the game. And if you lose the game, then it's literally like you just lost the game. Like, hey, everybody on this chat, you just lost the game.
No.
Okay, can we just cut her out of this, or cut Kyle out of this right now? Because
but that's just it. He was playing the kind of guy that would have done something like that, or so there's maliciousness of being a dick, but it's not like full on like I'm gonna take over the world evil. And it's shown in that one line where he was asking, and it really stuck out to me. They were like, well, what did you do? And he's like, well, I made everyone right. And I love that human beings everyone wants to be right, because you guys are sitting here and you're always canceling and you're always deleting and you're always ghosting each other because you always think you are right. And I could go, just that line coming from Russell T Davies was from Russell T Davies. I was like, but you got something to say, bud. But I digress. Try to be nice.
go. People want to hear it. Go for it.
Well, it's just there's always a lot of controversy. There was some controversy around Russell T Davies. There's controversies around the Doctor Who showrunners. There's controversies in fandom spaces, period. So to have someone indirectly, even if it's just a very subtle line, call out, how people treat creators in those spaces and how people treat each other, especially. There's a big debate right now going on about how, and I think it's very relevant to Doctor Who, how there are people who just completely and utterly disagree with the directions that are being taken with the people who are performing as those characters, and how those people just need to take several seats because it's doing amazing. But the fact that they're always right, and to have somebody immediately assume that they're always right and then see the consequences of that, like in the opening scene where they had all the people at the restaurant who were just running out and just going at the chef, and I was just like, that, you know, if you're always right, you can't perform anything. You're not willing to compromise. You're not willing to do this. So to have someone immediately point out that there is being you in order to be right, sometimes you have to be wrong.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Especially coming from Russell T Davies, Doctor Who showrunner. I don't remember specifically what he did, but I know there's controversies with all of them. So just coming from that, just like I was just like, okay, this is Neil Patrick Harris's dialogue, top parts.
Oh yeah. No, I completely agree. Like, even that ridiculous accent at most points of
Mm-hmm.
the with the German and the French and the not
Mhm.
accent, it was just captivating. Before I get to you, Tony, on what you thought of Neil Patrick Harris, producer Rob redeemed Hydrate. So, cheers, everybody.
Cheers.
Mm.
I have no more water. Oh no.
I know.
But now the same question to you, Tony, is what did you think about Neil Patrick Harris in this role of the toy maker?
To touch on, a little bit of what Kyle said, I mean, I'm not at all caught up on, all the controversies surrounding RTD or Doctor Who at the moment, but I did love the monologue, and I did love how this is the episode that like launches like 100 think pieces that we will now compile into like philosophy and Doctor Who, and during the 60th anniversary, and I'm really excited to read that when it finally comes out. But I think it's a really great commentary just on like the human experience and how we treat the gamification of like human opinion and experience, and how like it has like, the idea that even, the things that we seem to think are either super serious or not serious at all, about how it could just be perceived as this idea of like winning and losing, and how that has to like, again, the thing that's like launching the think piece and like launching the way that we're, completely thinking about the way in which we interact with, the world. And I always love when a piece of fiction can do that. As far as NPH, I really did love just just the unhinged nature that he decided to like, take this character in. I love how it's someone who I my favorite part of this episode is probably the puppet theater
Mm.
piece, where he's telling Donna about, the companions that came after her, talking about
Mhm.
Amy, talking about Clara and Bill, and so on, and how there always seems to be like, this like, like, well, so and so died. We're like, well, they died of old age. Like, well, that's all right then. And he keeps on repeating that, refrain of like, yeah, sure, they may have died, or they may have had like less than like, happy endings, but yet there's always like that we perceive it as like the audience is like, oh, there's a little bit of it that's like uplifting. River Song isn't dead. She's a memory. She's a file somewhere in the library somewhere. And it's like, well, that's all right then. Like, well, is it?
Well, that's all right then.
Right.
Yeah.
And it completely makes you rethink, like, yeah, is it all right? Is it? I don't know. Maybe it's not as uplifting as I actually remember it. And I do love about, when those moments can happen where it's like, yeah, maybe it's not as rosy as I thought it was. Maybe it's not the happy ending, or at least like a less than dismal ending. So I really did love, the take on the toy maker trying to like, again, gamify, the doctor's experiences and the doctor's life, where it's like these life and death situations, and it's like, oh no, you lost, and like, oh no, you actually didn't win when you thought you did. And so I do like that that's their way of like taunting, and we all know that that's like, the one the one quick way to like upset the doctor, when you just sort of like trivialize the things that they've gone through, and especially when it's like such like a heart-wrenching and traumatic experience. So I did appreciate, from a villainous standpoint, I did appreciate that a lot. So, and yeah, I'm trying to think, there's a lot of actors out there that I think that could have done this kind of character. But I do appreciate that I'm so used to seeing Neil Patrick Harris, cast in these very he's usually the good guy. He's usually like, even if he's a little like roguish, he's still like ultimately like the good guy that you want to root for. And I like to see him like so villainous in this particular role, like in a very
Barney
cartoonish
is
way.
like a good guy, but like still
Yeah.
has Marmy stuff.
Right, exactly. And so like especially in American media, like we always see him as like the good guy, the song and dance guy, the guy who's like always happy to perform. And to see him in such a extreme villainous kind of role is like really refreshing.
Is there
Oh.
something to that? Because casting an American actor for a very specific role that kind of trivializes the idea, because everything on Doctor Who is treated very seriously. I mean, it's shown a lot of heart and a lot of warmth, but everything on Doctor Who is very like, like it does treat it with a British level of seriousness. But for Americans, we're just like, let's do it, let's go, murder, 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 murder. And I just when you said that just made me think of that. It's just like,
I do think it is a choice that they make him put on a British accent, which to be fair for Neil Patrick Harris, I haven't heard him do a British accent in the various roles that he's in. So I don't know if this is the first time, but it's probably the first time in a long time, definitely. So I think that is a choice that they decide to go ahead and give him when he's, being his true self, that he still has a British accent, even though as an American actor. I do wonder how he would have accepted it if he had just had his normal American accent, because I think that would have I think that would have twisted the knife just a little bit more.
Yeah, no, I see where you're going with that. Funny enough, Russell T Davis actually, you know how Neil Patrick Harris got this part because Russell T Davis messaged him on Instagram.
No way.
And told him, I wrote this thing and I want you to read it. Sent him over the script, and then Neil Patrick Harris said, yes, I'll do it. I deep dive into like Whoniverse like stuff behind the scenes, so I have a lot of random facts in there. But yeah, Neil Patrick Harris was the one person that they wanted. Julie, what are your thoughts on Neil Patrick in this role?
Well, I kind of mentioned a little bit before. I guess I jumped the gun a little bit, but yeah, like I'm biggest stan. I've been a fan of his for a really long time, and I have done some deep dives of Neil Patrick Harris. Okay, so I had no doubt that he could do this villain role, but it has been a while since I've seen him do one like this. And yes, I was very reminded of Dr. Horrible. That's why I love that you brought that up, because it's one of my all-time faves, probably. But yeah, no, I was like, no, like, let's go. Like, let's do this. This is going to be great. And I thought, for sure. And I do think it was a great casting. And this character needs to be able to be like fun and playful, and then also very chaotic as well. And like, I think he was a great choice for that, because he can he's so versatile. I feel like he can bring all of the ranges of this character. And yeah, and I liked the British accent. And I wouldn't be surprised if he was just like, yeah, hey, can I do a British accent just for funsies? Because I don't get to do it very often, Like he can do a lot of different accents. Like, again, I've done some deep dives. I've watched a lot of just interview videos with him and stuff too. And like he's very multi-talented. Like you do a lot of different things that people may not even realize. So and yeah, and the magic. I love that they brought the magic into it, because I remember when he was the president of the Magic Castle here in LA for like a minute. I loved it all. I loved him in this role. I thought it was a really fun role for him. Actually, might be one of my favorite roles I've seen him in a while, to be honest. So.
Oh yeah, no, I agree with you. This is one of, because I kind of got tired of Neil Patrick Harris for a while, because like I was like, okay, you're in this, okay, oh, you're in that gay comedy, okay, like I just got bored of him. So kind of seeing him go into this, which is so much him, was refreshing. The one thing that did this to me though is they gave him a flipper with extra teeth on the top of his teeth, so he had just stupid amounts of teeth. That did disturb me every time I saw him close up. I was like, but moving on, we're going to go into the Doctor's toy shop from that first scene and everything. We're going to talk about Stooky Bill and Stooky Sue and Stooky Babbies. Now, I think it was Kyle who mentioned it. Now, there is John Logie Baird is the first person to put an image of a person on film. Ever. He was the person to do it. Come to find out that Stooky Bill was an actual thing. That is the first thing that was.
Oh, wow.
So, RTD definitely went back. He's used it in a couple of other shows as well, but he went back and he pulled that. Then he created Stooky Sue and Stooky Babbies to scare the living hell out of us. Stooky Bill wasn't in it that much except for the ha 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 ha. But what did you think of Stooky Sue's poem and the babies descending on Donna in that room, and then Donna coming back and saying, "My name is Donna, and you're a Ghana." We'll start with you on this one, Toni.
She deserved to die. The puppet had to go. No, they were the proper amount of creepy. I had my sister is not a Doctor Who fan, but she loves Shuti Gatwa from Sex Education. So she's actually going to watch the Christmas special with me. And I've been trying to get her. I usually force my family to watch Doctor Who, but they kind of watch it just sort of like it's just on in the background while I make them wear paper hats because it was like we had that good stretch where we had about 3 or 4 years of Christmas specials back to back. So that was a little mini tradition, and we haven't had that in a minute. So so I told her, I'm like, well, watch this with me. I have to refresh myself, for this stream. But you'll also know what's happening. And so she's just kind of like asking a lot of questions. And we got to this scene and she just had like that kind of look on her face the whole time. And then Donna like bashed the little puppet's head into the wall. And I was like, and she laughed, which is like the proper response. And I was like, that's why I love Donna. Donna's my favorite companion. And I just was like, this is exactly what needs to happen. This is the proper amount of like, oh, I'm horrified, I'm terrified, and now literally the tiny little puppet babies are trying to eat Donna, which again, whole other level of terrifying. And the fact that Donna just like establishes dominance right away by destroying Sue, and walking out of the room. I was like, these are all the right choices, every single one of these, because I think with a lesser showrunner and a lesser writer, I think they would have been like, oh, Donna's been captured by the puppets. And it's like, really? Really? The full-grown woman with the strength of a full-grown woman has been taken over by the tiny little stucco, those puppets, those little things. All right, cool. Yeah. Pretend that's real and that physics don't exist here. But I guess that is like sometimes what happens in sci-fi shows. But I like that they're still like, it feels grounded. It feels authentic. It feels like, yeah, that's exactly what you would do. You would be like, this is awful and I need to get out of here. And we have to establish dominance very quickly. So, yeah, good job for everybody on that scene.
No, I love it how she walks in the room and she's just like, I don't know who's in here, but I will kill you. I'm like, that's so Donna. And we're going to actually break off of that here after you guys answer with something that was said. Kyle, what did you think of the Stooky Sue, Stooky Babby, Stooky Bill?
I remain one of those people, like, and if you know me, you know why, and all this other stuff. But when I was growing up, my grandma had a room that was full of porcelain dolls, wall to ceiling, and it was my love. It was my grandmother's, so I loved it very much. But every time somebody throws me in front of a creepy toy or like a puppet or anything like that, number one, I'm just like, oh, fond memories, and number two, I'm just my reaction's very Donna. It's like, I am larger than you. If I wanted to, I would throw you. I mean, like, I can drop kick you. Doesn't matter. Stooky Bill, Stooky Babbies, Chucky, all of that. I will just I have that ability. And so I was less unnerved by that. I was more unnerved by, if we're talking puppets, I was more unnerved by the stories of the companions. But Stooky Bill and Stooky Babbies, Donna did it right. Good job, Donna.
Julie, what did you think about the Stooky clan?
I thought they were adequately creepy. But I liked that they brought them into play too, because they got mentioned like early on, and the fact that he didn't buy them, he only wanted to buy Stooky Bill. I was like, oh, something's gonna happen later. I was like, this is gonna come into play later. And then sure enough, yeah, they were mad because like now Stooky Bill's gone and she's left to take care of the babies. But yeah, they were adequately creepy. And I don't know, I've always had a weird like fascination for episodes of things about toys, like going back to even like Goosebumps and stuff like that, the ventriloquist one. Like I don't know if it's because they're creepy, but I also just I don't know, like, and then turning the humans into toys, and I don't know, it's just fascinating to me. But yeah, it was yeah, I agree with everyone that was saying I love Donna's reaction. I feel like that was apropos for Donna. She definitely like, and also like, yeah, they're attacking her. What else is she gonna do? Of course she's gonna throw them up against the wall. Like, they're little puppets. Get off of me, you know, like. So I enjoyed that. I definitely enjoyed seeing her fight them off. And I agree with what Toni was saying, like not being like a little weakling companion, because that's not Donna. That's not Donna at all. So she definitely
yeah.
fights back.
Yeah, and that's what we're gonna stem off for what Toni said, because Donna is the strong, powerful woman, and in this episode we also get the companion of Melanie back, played by Bonnie Langford. When Bonnie Langford was on her original seasons, she was very much damsel in distress. She would pretty much scream and run away, and then she would talk about fitness. She was the fitness girl. She would try to get the doctor to drink like celery shakes and stuff like that, and that was pretty much her character. Um, so a lot of people online and everything are saying it's impressive within 10 minutes of meeting Melanie that they were able to give her so much depth like Donna had for a full
Yeah.
season now than she originally had in her original season. What do you think about that? That like the women companions especially, because the guys always had like, I'm strong, I could do this, but the girls back in the old cast never had that. What do you guys think about now the women just being so strong and so brave? For instance, when Donna was getting hired by Unit, and she was like, "Give me 160 and 5 weeks vacation." They were like, "Okay, cool." And Unit's pretty much run by women now. What do you guys think of the empowerment that Doctor's giving the women, or whatever their pronouns are, that they're giving them? We'll start with you on this one, Julie.
Oh, I'm all for it. I'm here for it. I loved it all. I agree. I think that, yeah, Melanie got like so much juicy character bits right off the bat, that I love that they kind of maybe gave her some things that she didn't get to have back in the day. Gave her some traits and some backstory and some, some depth that she probably didn't have back in the day. So I love to see that. Again, I didn't watch her back in the day, but I am familiar with the structure of what a lot of the women companions were like back in the day. And yeah, it's a lot of screaming, a lot of like getting captured and stuff like that. So I mean, because immediately I thought, oh wow, Melanie's really cool. I like her, So, and I don't know. I mean, I'm sure I would have liked her back in the day too, but it probably would have been a different opinion, different type of introduction to her. So, yeah, and like, no, I'm loving this. I'm loving that like Unit's almost all women now, and like, yeah, and I'm seeing a lot of good stuff in there, a lot of like empowerment, like you said, and I'm loving it.
Okay, what about you, Toni?
I like that. Well, one, I've always been a fan of Kate. I've been a fan of Kate since she showed up. So I was always, I literally, as the episode started, I was like, oh, please be Kate, please be Kate, please be Kate. Because I thought that Shirley was going to be the Kate stand-in. And for whatever reason, we wouldn't have Kate because Kate is off on assignment or something. Or, oh no, she's in New Zealand and New Zealand is down. We can't contact New Zealand. So that's what I was afraid the position of Shirley was going to mean, that we needed to have some sort of unit figurehead, and it wasn't going to be Kate. But I immediately love how, I love that they have their own little Avengers Tower. Love that. Love how Doctor even remarks on like, your dad, worked, all that time to keep unit secret, and here you are just operating out, just out and proud. And I just love that just speaks to the agency that Kate is exercising, and that there's like, the Doctor doesn't have to give the women agency. They just are like, well, so we're going to do the thing, because obviously the Doctor is not always here, and unit has to be the first line of defense sometimes. And I'm really hoping that this is all leading to some sort of spinoff, that we get another like Sarah Jane Adventures, Torchwood kind of, series. That David Tennant can just so happen to pop in on, or also, a lead as well. And I think that would be fantastic, with or without David Tennant. Even if it was just about Kate, Shirley, Mel and Donna all together just fighting aliens and,
Mm.
investigating,
I would so watch that.
Yeah, mysteries. That would be awesome. And I would watch the hell out of that. But no, I just think that I love how they're all so distinct. I love how I don't require the backstory on Mel to understand that, like, obviously she means a lot to the Doctor. I've not watched the 6th and 7th Doctor's episode, so I knew nothing about Mel going into this. But immediately, just the way that they frame her, that his reaction to her, that we understand, like, this is important. This is someone who was important to the Doctor at one point or another. And just within the context clues and the drop lines that, like, obviously, a lot has gone on since the time of, her being the primary companion to her now. So adventures have been had, obviously there's some maturing there. She's, evolved as an individual, as a person. So to hear that she was very much a damsel companion, like, yeah, that tracks. That makes sense. But you're not always going to be the same damsel that you are. Like, she's supposed to be like in her, her 50s, 60s now, roundabout. I don't know how old Bonnie Langford is right now, but it just was like, yes, this all feels organic. It feels real.
Mm.
It feels like the natural progression of somebody who has had the benefit of all these adventures and traveling throughout time and space, not just with the Doctor. She talks about traveling with somebody else and having a whole slew of other adventures that he knows nothing about. So I love that we don't have to waste time with, like, so how have you been? Oh, well, I did this and I did that. We can just pace through it very, very quickly. And the dialogue is very good about, like, not wasting time with all of this, like, extra language, that you can just get right into it. Like, yeah, like, I don't have a family. That makes me really sad, but also had some really great adventures. You don't know anything about them, but they happened. And now we get a sense of who she is and where they're at as, as friends. So even these moments that are, that pay off later on in the episode, where after the bi-generation, where there's obviously some interaction there and there's already affection there. Like, it just feels like, yeah, even if you're friends and you haven't seen them for a long time, there wouldn't be any time wasted in, like, catching up or, like, expressing, like, I like you. I liked you then and I still like you now. So yeah, I loved everything about this.
Oh yeah, and surprisingly enough, Bonnie Langford is 59, which I didn't think she was. So shocked
Looks
to
great.
surprise.
Yeah, she does.
Kyle, what are your thoughts on this of giving stronger female characters in this new Doctor Who that they've been doing? Like
Love
Donna.
it. More women. More women. I got nothing beyond that. I mean, like, you could talk about the necessity of it until you're blue in the face when it comes to adapting and updating these old sci-fi shows. But number one, always everything is improved by the addition of more marginalized and underrepresented groups. Two, it will make many people online mad, as they have shown, and I love that. And three, yeah, just more women. Let's go.
Completely agree. Completely
I
agree.
do want to add one more thing. I do like that they didn't go the Rose Tyler, Sarah Jane route, where they wasted so much time being catty and weird towards each other, just because it was like two companions meeting each other for the first time. And, like, yes, it ultimately pays off because you get that great moment where they start to talk about him and how ridiculous he is. And there's, like, some really great funny bits that come out of it. But I like that immediately it's like, hey, world emergency. We have to save the world. And immediately it's right into collaboration and, like, appreciation, rather than this idea of, like, older companion, younger companion, like the missus and the mistress. Like, yeah. So I really love that we didn't have to, like, dip back into that dynamic.
I do like the one tip that they had was Donna saying, "I'm not your first redhead," and then, like,
Yeah.
that was a drop line, and they're just like,
That
okay,
was
let's
really
move on.
cute.
Great. So we're gonna move on to, like I said, the toy maker came into the future and everything like that. And his first introduction to 2023 was breaking into unit, singing or lip syncing "Spice Up Your Life" by the Spice Girls and doing a whole dance and number song with bullets getting turned into roses, some unit guys getting killed and turned into bouncy balls, him dancing with Kate Lethbridge Stewart, and Melanie and making them one run into a wall and one fall on the ground. What did you think about this number? Like, was it over the top? Was it just the right amount? I know some people out there actually hated it. And surprisingly enough, I don't know why, Neil Patrick Harris didn't think Americans were going to get the song because he didn't think they knew who the Spice Girls were.
What? How old does he think people are? I mean, that song was my childhood.
Yeah.
Right? Like
So,
he was like, I don't think the Americans are gonna have such a connection with it because like we just don't. And I'm like, have you met the Spice Girls? But Kyle, will start with you on this one. What do you think about it?
There's nothing there is nothing that can't be improved by a song and dance number, especially to the Spice Girls. I think the only thing that I had that was wrong, the only beef that I honestly had, the only thing, you're talking about how it made people mad. Yeah, there was something about it that made me mad. Made me feel old because how could you have that and everyone's like, oh, it's vintage and retro and it's the Spice Girls, and I'm like, stop. I went and saw the movie in theaters. I owned the CD. But no, I absolutely loved it. 10 out of 10, no notes. Please, more musical numbers. Hell, give me a Doctor Who musical. I don't care that David Tennant can't sing, or perhaps he can, and I am just unaware. But a Doctor Who musical episode, it is time. If Star Trek can do one, I feel like the gauntlet has been thrown. Russell T Davies has been tossed. If Buffy can do one, it has been tossed. Step up, man. Step up to the plate.
There are rumors that Jinx Monsoon is a musical episode coming into the new season.
ooh.
But jumping in the chat before I ask Toni and Julie about this song and dance number, jumping in the chat really quick. Producer Rob says, man, that Toni sure is smart. And Timspiration says, song and dance improves everything. This is the hill I will die on. LOL.
True. You're
I
correct.
agree.
Also,
I agree.
perfect timing. Nom Talk Network just redeemed Hydrate for everybody. So cheers again.
I have some melted ice. Hang on.
My water is empty.
Julie, what did you think about this song and dance number?
Oh, I loved it. I agree with in the chat where they said that's the hill I will die on, that it improves everything. Because 100%. I will never not want a musical number if there's the option of having a musical number. And yeah, I'm with Kyle. Where like I also grew up with the Spice Girls, had all their cassette tapes, and watched the movie in theaters, Spice World. Oh yeah. And so yeah, I think it was a great number because Spice Girls are very British, but they also, I feel like, leaked a lot into America because like there's a lot of young girls that were akin to like, for me it was like NSYNC, young kids everywhere were loving NSYNC, Backstreet Boys, and Spice Girls were right in the mix. So
take that, BTS. No, wait, I'm sorry.
Wait, what?
If you dare.
Take that, BTS.
Yeah, that's right. But yeah, no, I thought it was great. I don't feel like it was over the top because I feel like this character that they've created for the toy maker is over the top, and like they needed to show like just how like crazy but also how like kind of actually deadly he can be too. And like this was a great way to like introduce him to like everybody, just to show everybody like exactly what like he can do. And so like yeah, and it was unhinged and I loved every minute of it.
Oh yeah. The only thing I have to say that I did not love about the song and dance number is Neil Patrick Harris's wig annoyed the hell out of me for some odd reason. But that's not my choice. Toni, what did you think about the song and dance?
I loved it, and I didn't know that there were criticisms against it, but I have a feeling that that's the crowd that, wants everything to be Fight Club and Dark Knight, so I'm not exactly gonna hold that opinion too high. I do like what it does, though, like even because what it communicates to the rest of the team is that by the end of the song and dance number, they're like, how did he do that? And then the doctor says, like, well, what if I told you he could control, every atom just with, his thoughts? Would you believe
Yeah.
me? You know, what a perfect way to showcase that, like, yes, he can, just materialize out of anywhere. He can go ahead and transport you to any part of the room, in order to, like, dance a tango with you before slamming you into a wall. Yes, he can turn your bullets into rose petals, I think they were. And yes, he is not at all scared of anybody in that room. He's not at all worried about anybody's ability in order to, like, if they cannot stop him from singing and dancing. So I think it's a great show of force, and it's wrapped up in this really, really silly, exaggerated package. But it just did so much to just sort of, like, because if you go there and you're just like, it's a bad guy who's like super powerful, it's like, okay, and how does that actually explain any of his abilities whatsoever? How does that explain about how he's actually able to do any of the things that he's actually doing by making, opinion supreme and making everybody just, like, go crazy with their own convictions? Like, yeah, I think that this was, like, a really great way of just sort of, like, this shorthand of, like, what his abilities are and the way he's and how dangerous he truly is. So I think that this was very, very smart. But again, yeah, if you don't like a song and dance number, I mean, I don't know what you're doing watching Doctor Who, because Doctor Who is like one of the silliest, most nonsensical. These people do not take themselves seriously whatsoever. I mean, we at one point had tiny little fat babies running around, like literally babies made of fat running around, and that was a real episode that happened. And at one point, Moni Myrtle turned into, what was it, a sewer grate or a piece of asphalt? I mean, like, come on, this show is not at all serious. So yeah, I just don't understand where that kind of criticism comes from. But yeah, 10 out of 10, no notes.
Yes. Now we're gonna go into something big that happened. So they defeat the toy maker and everything, or well, the toy maker kills David Tennant's daughter, and super emotional scene. I was bawling, and I don't think I've ever said what like Tennant as much as I ever did. Goes to regenerate again, and I really just didn't want him to say I don't want to go again, because then that would have broke me completely.
Yes.
But lo and behold, because the toy maker's there and he has his own powers and magical stuff, there is the first ever bi-generation. So we get Shutigawa and David Tennant being the Doctor at the same time. And also in this, introducing our new 15th Doctor, great. But also in this, come to find out, every other previous Doctor also bi-generated at this exact same time.
Wait,
so
what?
So yes, Jodie, Christopher Eccleston, all of them also bi-generated.
What? I missed that. I think I missed that part.
Coming from RTD, all of them bi-generated. So the curator that was in the 50th special was a bi-generation of a Doctor.
What?
Yes. So all of them get to live their regular lives. So Jodie's running back to Yaz right now, full of love, because she can do it.
Yeah.
What do you guys think of this bi-generation that happened and how big? And well, now it's called the Doctorverse because we can get spin-offs with other Doctors. We can get like Torchwoods, everything like that, because it just opened up this whole thing. What do you guys think about this? We'll start with you on this one, Toni.
I mean, I'm all for, I don't think it's at all. If you have a show that has the run of time and space, and you have a multitude of ways to break the rules that even you set, like there's very few rules that haven't been broken in this series, especially over the course of 60 years. It seems silly to paint yourself into a corner. Like I was, again, explaining to my sister who'd never watched the show, and I was explaining to her what regeneration meant and if the Doctor dies. And I said, like, well, at one point, he was supposed to have a limited number, and they were like, yeah, about that. Actually, you have unlimited regenerations. And she laughed at that because it's like, yeah, why wouldn't you? It's a sci-fi show. You can do it's been going on for 60 years. There's no reason why I can't go on for another 60. Like there's no reason to paint yourself into a corner. So I think that, yeah, if you have the ability to have a multitude of Doctors, and they've had, those kind of like, weird crossover moments, usually during like a significant, anniversary or, some kind of like throwback moment. And those are always so much fun. But then also the possibility of like one, revisiting, two, getting the band back together, seeing who's still around and what can happen. Yeah, why not? Why not have the ability to do that? Especially if you can. Canon is not a thing in the Doctor Who universe. Like, let's just go ahead and throw that out there. Anything and everything can be can be real. Yeah, let's throw that word out there in the Whoniverse, real. I just think that it's a really, really wonderful way to sort of like maximize your ability to tell stories. Obviously you still want to ground, the mythology in some kind of rules. You can't just like have it be willy-nilly. Otherwise it's just like, well, then nothing has any stakes. Nothing means anything anymore. And I don't think that they've done away with stakes. I think what they've done here though is done their best to just sort of say, there's no reason why we cannot expand even further a mythology, especially a mythology that was literally hodgepodged as it went. I mean, where Doctor Who began is very different from where it is right now. So I think that it's just a natural evolution of when you tell somebody like, hey, like you have a doctor who's incredibly smart and you have the ability where he's a very favored individual throughout the universe. And so luck just happens to be a thing that just happens to him. And maybe this by generation, whether it's destiny, whether it's luck, whether it's just, a probability, why shouldn't it happen? Absolutely. So yeah, I'm very, very pleased with this. And I love the idea that now it's opening up all these other possibilities that just literally blew my mind. Cause I'm like, well, if all the other by generations have happened, how many individual, oh no, it's an entire galaxy. It's an infinite number of individuals that are out there. And do those by generations then have by generations? Oh, the possibilities. Yeah. So I'm all for anything that just like blows the universe to bits. So yeah, very excited.
I mean, now that you're mentioning that, like there is this series, like it's short, like either like clips or something like that called Tales of the TARDIS, and they've had other actors play doctors, and people are like, how? He's not a doctor. This now puts that into perspective, the curator into perspective. They generate and then they get old and they live their lives. Kyle, what do you think about all of this by generation and the new doctor and everything?
Number one, Shuti Natwa. Fantastic. Love him. Hope I did not pronounce his last name, or hope I pronounced his last name correctly. Probably just based on the few seconds that I've met him, going to be one of my favorite doctors, up there with 10 and 13. Number two, I have one request of every creative that makes a massive sprawling universe. Mr. Davies, I'm looking at you, sir. I need a meta episode. I need a meta episode. I need a doctor to go into the writer's room with you. I don't know what it would take, but please, I am on my knees. Everyone who makes a shared universe, no one does a meta episode. And I need the commentary on creativity, writing, and the fact that you write a show about a man that flies around in a blue box. Please, 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 please. A weird meta episode. Just, that's all I ask. Everything else, do whatever you want. Flying pigs, whatever, sure, go ahead. But meta episode. It will be there. I will give you money. Thank you.
That's going to take a lot of money. Maybe we could start a GoFundMe or something. Next month, our fundraiser is going to be for that. No,
Kyle's meta episode.
Julie, what do you think of all these bi generations and the new doctor?
Gosh, I wasn't sure what to think at first. I think because it was a short minute, but I had thoughts for a short minute where I was like, well, isn't this convenient? Now, like, David Tennant can live on forever because he's obviously one of the fan favorites. And like, and then with this new news of all these other doctors that bi-generate, well, all of these doctors can also live on and like have their own. So at first I was kind of like, this seems a little convenient, but, and I also like, Toni, I'm glad you brought up the canon thing because I am someone who has, for a lot of shows that I've loved, been very staunch to the canon, and I did have those thoughts as well with this. But I think actually you bring up a really good point. Like like it doesn't need to be like nothing needs to be canon in Doctor Who because like you said they're constantly reimagining and breaking rules and it is sci-fi and sci-fi involves science and science involves like constantly experimenting and new things happening and new information coming through and all of this stuff. So yeah, what you said I think is absolutely right. Like so thank you, you have like actually brought around my perspective to think like yeah, why not? Like, why can't there be all these doctors running around? Because I mean, honestly, it's pretty smart. Like now they have these open doors where they can bring whatever doctors back that they want at any time, and like you like you said, they can make spin-offs or they can bring them back for the specials or whatever, and like have new reasons to bring them back, not just like they don't have to come up with like some specific reason why this doctor is back. Now they can just be like, oh well, this doctor already exists in this universe now. So yeah, it is very interesting though. It's very interesting to think like how that's all going to play out. Like, and are they going to come across some of the other doctors in the episodes? I mean, that could be kind of fun. So but yeah, you just kind of like blew my mind with the knowledge of all of the doctors. I didn't even know. I didn't realize you said that. So
Now, I definitely have to go back to producer Rob's previous comment saying Toni sure is smart.
yes.
Jump in the chat really quickly, going back a few paces. Tin Inspiration says, seriously, how do you murder people but in playful, fun way? Balloons or balls, because that's how you do it. Also, with this whole new Doctor Whooniverse, Doctorverse, they also say, I could see that sort of DSS Machina kind of way. So going into this, we're on our last couple of questions here, guys, but now we have the new Doctor, the 15th Doctor, Shutikawa, who I loved, and he was only there for like 15 minutes, and I love him already. I haven't loved a Doctor like since Tennant, like honestly. But as I've been calling Tennant's 14th Doctor, I'm calling him the midlife crisis Doctor. As obviously, like Shooty says, he's skinny and raring thin, and he honestly did his therapy or his what does he say? He says, I am fine because you fixed yourself. We're Time Lords, we're doing rehab out of order, which I loved that they brought that aspect into him. What did you guys feel about the retirement of the Doctor? However much we could say that's a retirement because they're doing things out of order. How did you feel about that and how just like loving they were for each other? We'll start with you on this one, Toni.
I always so the last time that any fandom of mine had to deal with a retirement of a character, it was Cap in Endgame, and the fandom did not like that at all. They did not like it, and they felt like it was a betrayal of the character and so on and so forth. But I think what people miss about, his progression to that point is that he sees that he's not the only hero and that literally the fate of the world is not resting on only his shoulders, because of course that's how he felt for so long, because he's literally the first Avenger, right? So that's literally where my mind went with this episode. I was like, oh, he feels a sense of relief, even though he is nervous at first about like, how is this going to work? There's two of us, one TARDIS. What do we do? How does this work? I'm supposed to just sit around while there's like a multitude, literally galaxies upon galaxies and timelines upon timelines that need to be like, helped or rectified in some way. And knowing that there's not only, that there's another him out there, I think helps a lot. I think it really does allow him to just say like, he's got it. I've got it. I am still out there and I can still also be here. I'm Schrodinger's doctor. I'm still going about, I'm still chilling here in the garden. Yeah. So I think that was, I think, a smart move. I think it also opens up a lot of really interesting possibilities. Again, maybe it is all leading up to an Earth-based, doctor show where he is actually hanging around the Earth and he doesn't have to be zipping around, to the next planet and the next thing. Here's hoping. But ultimately, even if this is where it ends up, I'm so pleased, like, because literally the way I used to think about the 10th Doctor and Donna, like those were like some of the most like horrifying and emotionally traumatic endings in Doctor Who. And to know that now their story is just them chilling in the garden. If this is where it ends, I'm like, I'm pleased. I'm okay with that. That feels emotionally satisfying. I hope it leads to more. And I think the way that they've written it allows for that. But yeah, if this is where it ends up, I think that this is fine. I think it's okay, more than so.
Yes, yes, no, I completely agree. Like, I'm excited where it ended. There's a lot more. Why none of the doctors? Because all of them exist because they're time lords and go time space. All of them exist at once. We've seen it. So why have none of them thought about that is the thing. But before I get to you, Kyle, producer Rob redeemed Stretch for all of us. So,
Oh, all right. Oh, yo.
actually, that was very much needed. Thank you.
Mhm.
Kyle, what do you think about his retirement?
I think that it's a good way to kind of not close the book necessarily, but give everybody an ace in the hole. As far as, if you need an older, wiser, more advisory character in a capacity, you could have that. If you want a character for spinoffs, you could have that. If you have a bunch of people crying because, they don't like fun, you can bring him back and be like, well, David Tennant's still here, so, you guys, screw you. But the biggest thing that when I was a kid and I first watched Doctor Who, I used to think that the Gallifreyans were evolved humans. So now I feel like potentially I could have my evolved human Gallifreyan universe, because obviously all these doctors are going to keep bi-generating, and there will be a Gallifrey that started off as Earth. Like, I genuinely thought that was going to be the big twist end of the entire series, was that it turned out that we were the Gallifreyans all along, and then people were like, nah, there's actually a lot more to that, Kyle. And I was like, man, you guys don't like fun. How do you like fun? So now the only thing I can think of is that this is a hint potentially that there could be more out there, and I could live my weird future Time Lord dreams. The end.
Yeah. I thought that for a split second too, and then I was like, no, they couldn't. Jolie, what do you think about the retirement of the Doctor?
Well, I, much like the doctor, I did have thoughts of like, oh my gosh, like, yeah, like what's he gonna do? Like he's he needs to always be moving around, because like I feel like I'm kind of like that too, where like if I'm not busy, like I don't know what to do with myself sometimes. But then at the same time, I enjoyed this because I'm glad they finally gave a doctor like a chance to like rest. Because like I feel like there've been times when like it's almost been teased at, like maybe he was gonna like get to hang out with the family or have dinner with the family, or even like with Amy and Rory, I think there was a couple of times where like she was like, come to our house and have dinner with us, and he never really got to do that. So like I feel like this is finally the like, well, he finally gets to do that and like have a real family, and it's really sweet. And I like that they chose Donna, because obviously like she feels like family to him for sure, and then he's gotten to love all of her family. So it feels it like, as much as I was like, how are they going to do this at first? Like, it feels right. It feels like if they're going to do the bi generation and they're going to do it with David Tennant, then I feel like this is where this should land. It makes sense. Because you can't have, all the doctors running around the universe. Like, you just have the one main one, and then the other ones can do whatever they want. So,
Oh yeah, no, they can run about now. It's going to be a whole world of doctors. Toni, yes.
yeah.
I just wanted to. I said this, and I like had like a stupid weepy face on when I said it. But when I watched the episode and he's talking about, oh, my favorite niece, and I was like, he hasn't had family in the TARDIS since like his first adventures, and I just thought that was such a nice. There's so many like really nice callbacks to like the first Doctor, and I
Yeah.
really do love that.
Toni, that was a low blow. That was a mean thing for you to say, because now I'm remembering that.
No, because you made me remember too in the Runaway Bride, and everything like that. When he drops her off, she's like, "Hey, come and eat with us for this Christmas meal," and he stops her and he's like, "I don't do that anymore,"
Yeah.
because he
Yeah.
knows. And now he's come back to his family who's offered it. It's just such a full circle moment, and I'm enjoying every moment.
Like, he's
of it.
actually sitting down to eat with them for once, because I don't think has ever really done that with any of his companions. So like, yeah.
No, and telling stories, and I love it so much.
Yeah. It was so cute.
So this last question that we have before we start wrapping things up. The toy maker, when he's lost his game and he gets banished from Earth or the universe, anything, he says that his legions are coming. Russell T. Davis has also said in interviews that pretty much anybody, that powerful creature that you can think of, person, anything, can come back into the Doctor Who universe. What do you guys think about it? And is there any like deity or person that you would want to come back? We'll start with you on this one, Kyle.
Okay, so he only got more buildup in, I think it was an obscure Big Finish audio, but I remember the character because he got recommended to me. I want Andred and Leela back. Leela's an older companion of the Doctor, and Andred is a member of the Chancery Guard. And I really want just more classic Gallifreyans to come back, because going back to my sad shattered dreams that my descendants aren't secretly going to be Time Lords. I love the buildup of that culture and technology, and while we get to see it, we only get to see it at the end. Like, I want to see people pop in who've like been there during the glory days, so that people can go, man, Doctor, you can be kind of an asshole, but they were real ass. Just like see the twists and the turns, and also apply it, because if we're going back to what Toni said, and we're going back to what Julie said about, updating things, seeing a lot of that 1960s 1970s updated Gallifreyan for the modern era would just be fantastic, and I just really, really want that.
Yeah,
That
no,
in
I
a meta
completely.
episode. That in a meta episode.
Right there, and the meta episode. We're next month. I'm telling you, we're gonna petition. Julie, what are your thoughts?
So who would I bring back? I mean, I've been wanting another Weeping Angels episode for a long time, so I feel like correct me if I'm wrong, but they have not done that since Matt Smith. Am I correct? Or there's maybe one more besides that?
They no more since Matt Smith, because they were taken out of time. So.
Oh, right,
Nope.
right. Okay.
No, I lie. When Amy and Rory die in New York is the last episode that the Angels.
Right. The Angels take Manhattan. I remember that one. And then so yeah, I think there was, they were taking, like you said, they defeated them or whatever, but like you said, he said any could come back. So I would like to see them come back, because I feel like there's a lot more they could do with that. I don't know. And they're terrifying to me, but I like the terrifying villains. Like, I think those are some of my favorite ones. Those are some of my favorite episodes because they are so terrifying. And I think I'd also like to see the Vashta Narada come back, just because that was, again, a very creepy freaking episode. And I would love to see, like, if that could be a possibility, like, see what they would do with that.
Like, he tries to save River. Please go save
River.
Yes.
Yes. Just yes. Yeah, those were the first two ones that popped into my head. I feel like I would love to see some more classic Who ones come back, ones that we never got to see in the current Who. That could be fun. I mean, like, they brought the Zygons back for the 50th special. That was really fun. So I think there's other ones like that they could bring back as well. But yeah, those were the ones that came to my mind.
Nice. And Toni, is there anybody that you want back from the series, or like any gods or deities, or like even a Pokemon card? I'm joking with the Pokemon card.
I'm such a fan of Missy, and I think that little, this little well manicured hand picking up the gold tooth, I think that's much all but guaranteed that we're probably going to get, if not Missy, another female led master, which here's hoping.
I'm hoping it's Jinx Monsoon, but that's just
that
my
could
God,
be too.
From your mouth to God's ears, sir, please.
But I did think about Missy when I saw that hand too. I'm glad you said that, because I was going to mention that. Yeah, like, literally, I was like, "Ooh, wait, Missy!" Like, yeah. So who knows? But I think you could be right. It could be Jinx Monsoon as well.
But if I could bring back anybody, I really liked Madame Vastra and Jenny.
I
really like them. I think that we just kind of drop in on them, and then we just drop them too easily. I never understood why we don't get just at least a few extended, like 2 or 3 episodes of them zipping around in the TARDIS together. I never understood why that never happened. But yeah, I would love to just see them in general. So whether or not that's with David Tennant or the 15th Doctor, I think that would be absolutely fantastic. But yeah, I'm actually really excited about the idea that it could be a whole brand new villain that we've never seen before. And this is the one that's going to like the baddie to end all baddies. I think that that's a very interesting, and that's a very tall order too. I mean, because there have been some very terrifying prospects. I even tried to tell my sister, I'm like, the doctor met the devil once. He met Satan. And she's like, what? And I was like, yeah, apparently Satan's just a alien red horn dude hanging out in a planet somewhere that has all the powers of Satan. That's a thing. That's a thing.
Listen, because I make a lot of jokes. I'm making jokes about the meta episode, but the truth is, there's a big thing in British media, and I'm thinking of like they did it in Swamp Thing. They've done it in a couple of other ones where like Alan Moore and Grant Morrison in comics guest starred in their own things, and I'm like, that's it. Russell T Davies, put yourself on screen. The biggest of the big bad. This guy can rewrite the Doctor's history with just a thought.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's a big thing. Like I could totally see him doing that. It's like, who's the Doctor going to go up against? Who's the biggest, baddest villain he can? The guy who writes him.
True.
But I like the setup that we have where it's like his legion, or I don't remember if he says his legions are coming or my legions are coming. Or I also like that he says like there's one person I never played. I like that there's
I was about to bring that up. The toy maker says that, but also the Meep calls out somebody called the boss.
Yes.
Oh, that's true.
I think the Nothings at one point say something too about like running from something or running from I forget what they said. But I like that there is like the thing that has, because they tried to do that with the crack in the wall. What did we call that, by the way? The crack in the wall of Amy's.
No.
Did we just call that the crack in the wall? But anyways, they tried to make it seem like, I guess it was technically the silence. We ran from the silence is what everybody was kind of dropping throughout the season. And we got to the silence, and then it was kind of just like a 2 or 3 episode thing. And then we kind of moved on from it. And I really do hope that this is like, no, this is the big bad that's going to like be pervasive, and that it's not just going to be a one and done and we end it by the end of the season. It's going to be another big bad that actually follows the Doctor repeatedly, recurringly. So
the boss, I'm telling you, he said the boss, he said the thing, his legions is Russell T Davies, man. He's the villain. I need this. He's just gonna walk on screen and I need it so bad now.
Like I said, we're gonna petition for it next. But
maybe it's the Kevin Cam from She-Hulk. Maybe it's that guy. Maybe that's the one who's
the Kevin bot.
Yes.
But guys, we unfortunately are out of time. We could keep talking about this for another like 3 hours, I'm pretty sure. And inconsistencies.
always.
That is all the time we have for episode 3 of the 60th anniversary show, which is so sad. But we do have the Christmas special coming out with Shuti Gatwa. Yes. I don't remember her name, but Ruby Sunday. I'm excited to meet her. And Trolls. It's weird. They try to eat a baby, I think. I don't know. There's just a trailer. But I'm so excited to have you all here with us. Shout out to my guests, Kyle, Julie, and Toni. Julie, go ahead and let everybody out there know where they can find you.
Yeah, I'm on Instagram at Raelyn, Raelyn, and I'm on TikTok minimally lately, but I'm trying to get back on it at JRaelady, JRaelady, and that's pretty much, yep, those are my mains.
Nice. Well, thank you for being here. We have Christmas left, so I'm excited for the food then too. Kyle, go ahead and let everybody out there know where they can find you.
So you guys can find me on Blue Sky at kylepoddig.bluesky, social, all that good stuff. Need some followers on Blue Sky, so if you're on Blue Sky, hit me up. And that again is KYLEPODDIG, and then my TikTok is Caroling, CAROLING_cosplay, COSPLAY. Those are my 2 big ones at the moment. I mean, I am still on Bird app, but we're gonna try and drag myself away from the Bird app in the new year. So,
well, I mean, now that it's X, you kind of have to. Toni, where can they find you out there?
Yeah, you guys can find me on all the social media at the Toni Sanchez. It's Toni with an I, Sanchez with a Z.
And you can find me at all my platforms at Heartless7. That's HARTL, the number 3 SS7. And then for everybody tuning in right now, thank you. And please be sure to join our Discord to keep all of this conversation going, as well as subscribing to our other platforms at Nom Talk Network. And then tune into our next show, which I believe is going to be Godzilla -1, which is going to be super exciting. But until then, I'm your host, Erric Ramirez, and you guys have a nomorific day. Bye.
Bye.